Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's edition of the Petty and Ill-Informed podcast, where we venture our petty and ill-informed opinions about various topics. Joining me only this week, Tom.
Yep, just me for company, I'm afraid, Richard. You're stuck with me.
Well, could be worse.
Not much worse.
Well, it could be worse. Things could always be worse. At least you're not a flying fish.
Do they have it tough?
Yeah, they get chased out of the water by tuna where they're eaten by frigate birds.
I see.
And frigate birds are absolute dicks of the sky. You know me, I'm very pro-bird, but frigate birds are just mean.
I don't know them at all. I don't know what you mean. I can't picture it.
Frigate bird. They're like... how do you describe a frigate bird? They're like a black seagull with a long bill and a forked tail.
Okay. And they catch flying fish chased out of the water by tuna.
They catch anything. Frigate birds are the pirates of the sea.
Well,
anyway, yeah.
So how's your week been, Richard? What have you been up to?
Uneventful. Just been enjoying my week of work and staying alive despite the hopes of many. How's your week been?
Well, it's the middle of the summer holidays, so it's quite restful and relaxing. I will have to do some work next week, probably popping into the classroom one day and tidying up. And I have to, I have some work to do at home on my laptop, and I want to do that of a 6-week school holiday. I want to do those in weeks 3 and 4. So that's the next fortnight. So what have I been up to? Been having fun with a specific Rubik's Cube called a Ghost Cube, which is about as mean and tough as a 3x3 cube can get. So that's been particularly evil, but been fun. We're staying in this. I don't know what I've been doing. We're staying in this house for a week and sort of a mini break of sorts. It's relatively local. And the TV here is absolutely enormous. It's the biggest TV I think I've ever seen, outside of a Jumbotron or something. And I wired up my Neo Geo Mini, which is like a retro console, and I've been been playing these 16-bit games on this enormous screen, and it works surprisingly well. It's really bright and it works beautifully. And so I've been having a great blast with that, literally a blast, playing Metal Slug 3, which is a run and gun shoot 'em up type game. A huge amount of fun. Very difficult. Fortunately, this version of the game comes with a save feature, which I've been relying on repeatedly. So that's been fun. Gordon Bennett, my poor missus, she... being in an unfamiliar house, she didn't quite realize she had a post behind her. And to tie her hair back, she threw her head backwards and managed to reverse headbutt a bloody post. And she's given herself a concussion. So there's been a trip to, after 24 hours, she was still still rather woozy. And we probably should have done it immediately, but we did eventually at least get her to A&E. That's ER for you American folk, and where she had a CT scan, and she came out okay. But she's only now really sort of getting completely back to normal with a remotely normal level of energy and stuff. So bless her. That's been a big feature this week, and a couple of other things happened. When we were really briefly had to think on my feet quite hard and fast when I was at a local park, and a little boy came up to us and asked for and just asked my son if he could have some of his drink, and I was like, whoa, this is the alarm bells left, right, and centre here. found this kid's mum who was riding a bike up and down the seafront, and sort of tried to politely point out that this little boy of hers, being on his own in the park, he didn't really have a sense of stranger danger, and he was just coming up to us.
Oh God!
Yeah,
please tell me she was a full-blown Karen. Please tell me.
No, she didn't give me. She listened calmly and politely, but I had to say something. There was another couple there who were also quite concerned about this kid. He'd come up and asked them for stuff, and so that was really quite surreal, and I had to sort of think quite quickly and sharply, and I had to be, more decisive than I'm known for being, for sure, and managed to go up and whatever I said, it did the trick, because she then came over and supervised that kid. But sort of when he asked for a drink, I happened to have a sealed vitamin water type berry drink from Aldi with me, and I gave it to her, and she gave it to him. So you just got to be that careful. But she didn't seem sort of aware of that whole side of what I was trying to avoid being interpreted as, with every fibre of my being. And she, as I said, your son doesn't really seem to have a sense of stranger danger. And it was, but after that, she stayed with him, and it was a lot better. So phew. And I hope that she sort of, takes that on board properly and realizes that, I did say to her, there's dodgy people in parks. You just can't be too careful, and she was far too lax. And that wasn't just my opinion. That was the opinion of these. I was genuinely concerned for this child's safety if he's going up to strangers and asking them for stuff. And he
asked you. He didn't ask your son. He asked you.
Both. He rummaged through my bag trying to find food.
He walked up to you, rummaged through your bag. I think he's got more concerns. Well, maybe he's just a spoiled brat.
I don't know. He was just seemed very. He was very young. He was less than a 5, I think. He was a toddler, just a little older than a toddler. Bless him. So that was a weird one. So that was I had to think on my feet quite quickly there, and I think I got it right. So game on. Shall we talk about EastEnders, because I was set homework to watch every episode, and actually I did.
You actually watched EastEnders? Okay, then.
Well, I'll be able to prove it.
Go on then, prove it.
Well, it first of all, it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It didn't have anything totally ridiculous. A bit extreme, some of the storylines. So, there was a sort of a theme throughout the week of people trying to find parents that they'd become estranged from. There was this boy Freddie who I didn't know most of these characters. I mean, Kat and Alfie are pretty much the only ones I recognised. Oh, and Billy. So there was this boy Freddie who was trying to trace his dad, and he got his dad, and he was this local car dealer. And to meet him, he decided to arrange a viewing of a car or something like that to try and buy one. And he met this guy, but they'd all been trying to stop this happening because I think that it's quite grim. But his dad raped his mum, and that was how he was conceived. So he ran away, and they were all really worried about this. Understandably, and he went on a rooftop where he met somebody who'd been going through the same sort of thing at a parallel time. There were these two daughters, and one of them had stolen 200 quid from the chippy to hire a private detective to help trace mum. And there were these two daughters. What were their names? I forget.
Anna and Gina.
That's it. And it was Anna was the one who'd stolen the money, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she, meanwhile, pushed Gina. The whole stress of the thing had pushed Gina back to a coke dealer, and she had drowned her sorrows in powder up the nose, which I thought was pretty full
Which,
on.
don't blame her. Cocaine is a wonderful drug, and it's just so amazing. But yeah, don't take it.
No, I never have, and I never will, and I'm pleased about that because.
It's so amazing. But yeah, don't.
Well, then
Don't
there
get
you
it.
go. It's for forbidden fruit. I enjoy plenty of other things in life that wouldn't cost me everything in every sense of the word, which cocaine potentially could. And so, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. Sorry, Gabby's busy in the chat, but I'll look at that in a minute, Gabby. So they were the main plot threads, and I think it emerged that I think Anna's sister told Gina, was it? Did you say, or Gigi?
Gina. Yeah.
Gina said to her, "Look, Mum just walked out on us. She got bored, fed up, and just said, 'Nope, kids, not for me,' and walked out." I don't know how true that is, and we all.
Of course, we as the viewers that have been watching it regularly know that that isn't the case. That she was actually put in witness protection.
Oh right, go on. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's Cindy, and she's over in Spain with Ian, and we had a whole episode dedicated to those two, and they should be returning soon. Ian, of course, is a workhorse of EastEnders, so it's not the same without him. So yeah.
Well, speaking of Ian, he was a very irritating character, and there's certainly another one of those in the form of Sonia's boyfriend,
Reese. Yeah, he's an odd duck.
He's a what?
He's an odd one.
But he seems to be a bit of a pillock.
Oh yeah, he's a total pillock. That's his whole shtick.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he seemed to be a bit of a one-dimensional character, just deliberately saying the worst possible thing at the worst possible time. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, even his comatose wife doesn't give him any like depth at all. He's always just been Reese from the first day he arrived to now. He's just been pretty much the same. There's no depth. They use him and Sonia when they can't think of anything else to do, I'm pretty sure, or when they need to give someone a week off.
Well, it's yeah. So it's it wasn't too bad. I don't know if I'm going to keep watching. I've got a horrible feeling I might.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to find out what's going to happen with Freddie now that he's been emotionally crushed.
Yeah.
Has Honey clocked that Ben's got bulimia?
Did that feature this week?
Yeah, you could see Ben, how nervous Ben was around food. What's her name? Oh, Lola. Yeah, Lola was sort of... She wasn't really mentioned, but her picture's on the bar, and they always make sure to show at least one scene with a picture in it.
Okay.
We're finally moving on. Even Jay seems to be moving on, so that's good.
Oh, there was the pirate birthday party that Alfie managed to throw.
Legendary. Yeah, good old Alfie putting the effort in.
Yeah, it was good to see them still doing that with that character. I think my favourite, probably my favourite. I know what. I know what we can make this episode. We can talk about our favourite EastEnders moments because I have watched it on and off over the years enough to have that conversation. Or might that just bore our listeners?
All right, go on then.
Okay,
well, I wasn't going to spend the entire show talking about EastEnders, no.
No, well, we'll do it for a bit. And then we'll see what Gabby's got to say. My favourite episode was the one, and I may have mentioned this on the show already, I'm not sure, where Alfie was trying to buy a condom to have sex with Kat. And just the whole episode was Alfie running around trying to find this condom. And there was this, he ended up being arrested. I can't remember why. And he says to this police station, he says to her, this policeman says to her, "You call me a Muppet?" And Alfie goes, "Well, I quite like the Muppets." And then as he's eventually being led out the station, he just sort of whistles. And it's really, really funny. That was an absolute blast, that episode. If you've got
It's a good
one,
one.
do you want to go? You want to say one of your favourite EastEnders memories?
One of my favourite episodes of EastEnders, probably the one where Ronnie and Roxy died, just because of how hilarious their death was.
I didn't know they'd killed them off.
It was incredibly hilarious and ridiculously improbable. They died in a swimming pool. Oh,
okay. Well, you've already said it. Go on.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, they died in a swimming pool, and it was one of the most hilarious deaths you'll ever see. Roxy had been doing drugs and had a heart attack when she went into the pool. Ronnie jumped in to save her, and she got tangled in a wedding veil that she wasn't even wearing when she went into the pool. That was just like, this is brilliant. That was a dumb episode.
Oh dear.
I like the Max arc a couple of years ago where he was secretly trying to destroy the entire square. That was fun.
Max?
Yeah, Max Branning. He's not in it anymore.
He was having an affair with Stacey at one point, wasn't he?
He was having an affair with everyone. He was the East End bike.
The Darren Day of Albert Square.
Yeah, dude was a pimping. But yeah, I don't want to talk about EastEnders for the entire show. Right now.
I remember one thing I thought was really funny was I saw a BBC documentary about EastEnders, and it was just so hilarious how they actually thought it was worth making a documentary about EastEnders, and that it was about a show. The fact that they took themselves way too seriously, like weighing up all, talking about how Sharon didn't have Phil and Grant at her side anymore, and it was, and she had all, and both Dens were coming after her, and all she had was Billy, and he was no good for protection. And it's like, are you kidding? This is not a serious, cultural, socially significant event. What is happening in EastEnders now? It was so daft to see the BBC actually. Well, if I thought it was took itself.
I would have liked that if they hadn't taken it so seriously. If they'd just been like throwing darts at a dart pool with different names on and being like, okay, Sharon's gonna have an affair with Ian. Linda's gonna shoot Billy. Whitney's going to run off with the mailman.
Yeah. Well, it's I'll see how I do. I'll see if I keep watching it. I may well do. I'll try to. Okay, so let's move on. Let's see what Gabby's been.
Apparently, the mailman's ghosted her. That's that's sad end to the fake porno story.
Yeah,
I'm still not bitter about.
Well, we feel for you, Gabby. We think that's a shame. Porn scenes don't normally end in tears. Bless. Let's should we talk about Donald bloody Trump?
Yes.
I mean, I can't help but find it absolutely stunning that somebody who is in so much trouble with the law and is fighting so many different lawsuits with heaven knows how big a legal team, and they are, they'll be looking for absolutely every single possible technicality they can use to try and get Trump off the hook for. I mean, the main story at the moment is his role in causing and generating the was it the January 12th storm on Capitol Hill?
January 6th.
Yeah, the storm on Capitol Hill. He's it's amazing to me that, you know, he can be in that much trouble and still be the leading Republican candidate for the 2024 presidential election. It's just mind-blowing to me that those two things are happening simultaneously. Does it surprise you, Richard?
I'm reminded of the scene from Blackadder the Third, where Blackadder is filling out the form for Baldric to enter Parliament. And he says, any sexual deviancy? Baldric says no. And Blackadder says, oh, come on, you're going to be an MP. It's expected for politicians to be, criminals these days. And, hats off to him for, putting in a good showing despite everything that's happened to him.
I mean, his level of narcissism must be just absolutely carrying him right now.
Oh, man. The dude, you say what you like about Trump, but the man is, really going all out. He'll probably get elected because Biden is not a good president, bless his dementia-ridden soul. And, we'll get Trump to be a president again for 4 years. It's going to be a good time. But I'm sort of like all these lawsuits, all these criminal cases. It feels like, and I've said this from day one, that this is coming from the Republican Party, that they're the ones trying to get him convicted of something so he can't run for president again, because the Republican Party doesn't want him to be president.
Yeah.
I feel very strongly that's what's going on. People can call me a conspiracy nut all they want, but honestly, I'm made up for him. He's had a lot go wrong, and he's still putting in a good showing, and he's still, the number one candidate. So fair play, I'll say.
I wonder if would that not mean that both the Democratic and Republican Party are both basically united in trying to get Trump in prison and out of US politics?
Well, it's sort of black and white as that, is it? Like, there are some Democrats that support Trump, there's some Republicans that support him, and there's some that don't,
Yeah.
I consider myself a Republican, I'd vote for him if I lived in America. Well, if he was running against fucking Clinton or Biden, yeah, I would not vote for Hillary Clinton. You could not pay me enough.
I'll agree with you that the choice between Hillary Clinton and Trump was just terrible on both ends. I mean, it was
very much no matter who wins, we lose.
Yeah, it was not a great choice. Oh my word. I definitely felt that at the time. I mean, their presidential debates involved threatening to put each other in jail.
Yeah.
One thing that was, I will say this for Trump. If I have to say something remotely nice about him, at the moment he was elected, the first thing he did was, Hillary has been beaten and defeated. She needs to go and heal. Let's just leave her in peace. I'm like, how? It's odd that it's kind of nice that you say that, but you've been promising everybody that you'd put her inside. And you're just immediately saying you're not even going to try. Like on day one, he said that, didn't he? Do you remember?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, he won, she lost. He was moving on with his life. He had other things to do.
Oh, yeah. I wonder if the Democrats would be far better off having a different candidate than Biden. I mean, he is so old. It really is not a good idea to have him run again.
Yeah, I mean, they should run Kamala. She's fun.
I don't know how well she's done.
Yeah, I can't imagine she'd win, but like, I don't think anything's going to stop Trump from being re-elected if he secures the Republican nomination.
Really? God. I mean, he's no spring chicken himself. Oh, that would be really, really strange.
Sorry, Gabby keeps sending me pictures of the US Constitution for some
Yes,
reason.
me too. They're popping up in my inbox. Oh,
We're doing the show, Gabby.
yes. I was just about to say I'm switching my phone off, but then I remembered I'm meant to be following the YouTube stream to interact with people. But people is Gabby.
We have more than Gabby watching, according to the chat thing, but she's the only one who talks. Oh, the Declaration of Independence, not the US Constitution. My bad.
I see.
Anyway, so yeah, no, honestly, fair play to him. He's the little president that could.
Wow. So, go on.
That's genuinely how I feel about it. Like, I wasn't, when he was the president, I thought it was a bit embarrassing, but, with the benefit of hindsight, it wasn't that bad. And, they're throwing everything they've got at him, and he's still running. So, honestly, I'm just like, yeah, fair play, mate. Fair play.
Well, who knows what's going to happen in the next election? What about Britain? Do you think is Rishi Sunak absolutely doomed?
He's not the prime minister. Like, he was never elected. He shouldn't be. We've switched prime ministers like 3 times. There should have been a general election. That's how I feel about it. Honestly, he's an illegal prime minister.
Britain has long had this where, changing a prime minister mid-term has happened. I mean, that's how Gordon Brown became PM.
That's absolutely fine. I'm totally cool with that. Once, one switch. Okay, I'm resigning. Here's the new person. It's been like we've had Liz Truss, Theresa. When was the last time we had an election? When Johnson was prime minister.
Theresa May took over from David Cameron after Brexit, and then that's when she infamously called an election that was hers to lose, and she just botched it totally. Somehow Jeremy Corbyn did all right, and that led to Jeremy Corbyn and Labour being hard left for so long. And then in the next election, he was absolutely annihilated by Boris Johnson.
Yeah, because he wouldn't take a stand on Brexit. That's why he won.
Yeah, and he also, the party was absolutely riddled with and was plagued by the anti-Semitism scandal. But now it seems to be. It seems to be a lot more positive, but the trouble is there? Does anyone really know what Labour stands for apart from "We are not the Tories"?
Yeah, we're diet Tories. That's their norm.
Yeah, because I don't honestly know. I will expect when they publish their manifesto. A massive reform of Ofsted to be part of it, a big part of key part of their education policy. I'd expect to see that. But anyway, that's really, really boring.
Well, I'm just saying, Johnson resigned, Liz Truss took over. We should have had a general election when Liz Truss was sacked. Let's call it what it was. Yeah, okay, officially she resigned, but let's call it what it was. All right.
Oh, she was. Remember the lettuce? I can't remember who was it. Someone famous or some a newspaper or something bought a lettuce on the day she came to power, and they predicted that the lettuce would last longer than she did, and the lettuce did.
I believe it.
It was. Because it was about 43 days, I think she was prime minister for. It was, really surreal, but she was so crap. She made several appalling decisions and just fell apart and had to resign. No, that
If she
wasn't.
was a wrestler, she would be like the jobber. The one that Vince McMahon turned to was like, okay, we need to job. I need someone to take a dive. It was appalling. But yeah, like when Boris Johnson resigned, she took over. Fair enough. That's fine. One extra prime minister. But when she resigned, there should have been a general election.
Yep. And Keir Starmer would almost certainly be our prime minister now.
I mean, they never learn, do they, the Tories? This is what happened when I was a kid. You know, when Tony Blair was up and coming. They just, you know, John Major and Margaret Thatcher and the Tories just ran this country into the ground, and everyone's like, okay, we've had enough of you. We're putting Labour in charge now. And that's what's going to happen. And it won't even matter what Labour's policies are. Yeah, it'd just be like, we're sick of the Tories.
Yeah, it happens eventually. And yeah, that's certainly well within my lifetime. I remember that, Tony Blair winning in 1997. It's a landslide victory. If it wasn't for Iraq, Tony Blair would be remembered as one of the greatest prime ministers post-war Britain ever had. You know, introduced things like the minimum wage, which was slightly criticised at the time, but of actually, you know, it's a classic centre-left policy that's worked by and large, has helped a lot of people. So yeah, I think Sir Keir Starmer doesn't need to be massively charismatic and all, really full of dynamism. People just need to be able to say, okay, we'll give you a shot. You know, he doesn't need to be, to woo the country. Or have people think he's wonderful. He's never going to be that type of leader. I think he just needs to be convincing enough, which he's doing at the moment, is being convincing enough for people to go, yeah, okay, we'll roll the dice with you for a change. Why not? You're a better appeal than Rishi Sunak. I mean, maybe that's faint praise, but
that's like saying, I can't even think of a decent metaphor. It's like, I don't know, like saying that drowning is better than burning to death. Technically true, but still.
Oh, blimey. It's okay, speaking of drowning, though, the people we talked about the Titan submarine last week, didn't we?
It's popped up, yeah.
Yeah, that
still brings a little joy to my heart that 5 rich morons died pointlessly.
Oh, for mercy's sake, one of them was a kid.
How old was he?
About 14, I think.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's horrible.
Yeah, one of them was. It was a guy and his son. He'd taken a Rubik's Cube down there with him and was going to solve one at a record depth and try and make the Guinness Book of Records for the
Well, they made the Guinness Book of Records fastest death, so technically, wishes. No. Where was the dolphin incident? Because that might be deeper.
Well, let's stay with this a moment because I think it basically what you have to imagine is this. Imagine hitting a Coke can with a sledgehammer. Well, imagine having 1,000 sledgehammers hitting the Coke can from every single direction at once. That's what happened. And yeah, they wouldn't have. I read some crazy thing about what actually would have happened in the fragments of a second that it took for them to be obliterated to nothing. I mean, my word, it's it's just literally you cannot imagine the force that they would have been hit with at every single angle, at the exact same moment. They wouldn't have known a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the Titan sub beat them because the Byford Dolphin incident, which is the only other record of what's it called, implosion, that was at 2,300 meters. So yeah, the Titan sub is the does hold the record for the
because
lowest.
well, it would be you said the fastest death, and the reason it would be that is because lower down there's more pressure, and it would have therefore happened that tiny fraction of a second faster.
So we made the Guinness Book of Records.
What a charming conversation this is. Yay for
I'm
the
just saying, every cloud. All right.
Way for the podcast.
He said he wanted to make the record books. He made the record books. I see this as an overall win.
Oh, Lord have mercy. There's a special place in the afterlife for you, Richard. I don't know where it is. And
If I wasn't already going to hell, that's not going to push me over the edge.
You know, I saw a comedy. It wasn't a horror film, a comedy film years and years ago called Dogma, and I remember something involving Hitler and pineapples and Satan, or something like that. I don't want to remember.
It was Little Nicky, not Dogma. It was Little Nicky.
Oh yes, okay, all right. Then it was that was Little Nicky. Yeah. Yeah, I did. Why did I think it was Dogma? I think that there's similar films on. I think, are they similar films?
No. I mean, kind of. They involve angels and hell.
Okay. Well, that's close enough for me. That was enough to get me confused between them, clearly.
Yeah, I mean, Dogma was a good film, though, to be fair. I mean, it had Alan Rickman in it, George Carlin, Jay and Silent Bob. I love Jay and Silent Bob. So, yeah.
I love Alan Rickman. He was just great.
Oh, what a legend that guy was.
Everything he did. I mean, the most iconic roles I think of when I think of Alan Rickman are, first of all, Hans Gruber.
That's it.
Have a
Die
machine
Hard.
gun. Ha.
That was your Alan Rickman.
Yeah, man. What's your bloody problem?
I can picture you practicing that for years.
Hardly.
Yeah.
And then, actually, never mind. Hardly. You're completely right. I have been. Whenever I say Alan Rickman, I've been saying that quote for years. So yeah, guilty as charged. Maybe not practicing, but certainly I've been trying that thing for years. Then he was in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. He was the Sheriff of Nottingham, of course. And then Snape. He was fantastic as Snape. And also I didn't mind his role in Love Actually. You know,
I was just about to bring that up. That was a nice little side story.
It was. I mean, you really felt for his wife, Emma Thompson. Oh, mate, have you seen Emma? Speaking of Emma Thompson, Good Luck to You, Leo Grand.
No.
Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay, it's a film, mainstream film, where Emma Thompson is widowed and hires a young professional sex worker to really give sexuality a shot. And 90% of the film is the two of them just talking. And it is an absolutely brilliant and compelling Emma Thompson film. Hannah and I bought it on DVD. That's my missus. We bought it on DVD because we still do those. And it's a cracking film. It's got so much humor. It's got depth. It's got sophistication. It's got character development. And yes, it does have some bonking towards the end. But it's just Emma.
Is that how you phrase it to your missus? Oh dear, fancy a bit of bonking tonight. I bet she says she's got a headache a lot.
Oh, mind your own beeswax, you.
That's a yes.
Bonking? No, you don't use that when you're actually doing it. For heaven's sake.
I'm bonking you so hard.
Oh, for heaven's sake, shut up. What's wrong with you, man?
Could have been worse. You could have said bumming.
Oh, nice. No, it is. In all seriousness, it is. It is a very good film, and it portrays the whole subject with maturity and yet humor at the same time. It's really, really cool. It's it was very well reviewed. It's got a high score on Rotten Tomatoes. The film is Good Luck to You, Leo Grand. It's also very, very body positive. In its and Emma Thompson's interviews about the film were absolutely brilliant. I can't remember the kind of thing she said, but she said it was something on the lines of, sort of, we all hate our bodies, and just why? What is the point of it? We should be proud of ourselves and proud of who we are, and we should think we look gorgeous because we all do. And she had a very lovely, wholesome way of speaking about why she did this film and why she read the script and went for it. And yeah, it's a great film. And I know a lot of people, everyone I know who's seen it has liked it. Yeah, game on.
All right. Well, I'll give it a watch if I can find it.
Now, it might have been on Amazon Prime recently. And do you have Amazon Prime, Richard?
No, I do not.
Oh, you don't?
No.
So you don't buy stuff from Amazon a lot and have it delivered to your house for free a lot then?
No, I go to these old-fashioned things called stores and trade real money for actual goods.
Oh, God, I bet you pay in cash and all.
Yeah, fucking cards are horrible, man. They've got you if you use cards.
Oh, well, it's funny. There's, well, yeah, you'll struggle to see it if you haven't got Amazon Prime, because if it's anywhere, I think it's there. I don't think it's on BBC iPlayer or anything helpful like that yet.
BBC iPlayer? No, you need a TV license to use that.
Well, and you haven't got one of those either.
I'm not going to say whether I do or not on the internet.
Sorry, pardon me for asking.
Yeah.
Moving swiftly and shrewdly on.
No, I bloody don't have a TV license. Don't say you've got a TV license.
Of course we have.
This government shifts us for every penny it can get, and you give them more. No. Free TV is the least they owe me.
Well, I actually happen to think the BBC are rather wonderful because they provide just such a complete and comprehensive service. There's so many channels, so many radio stations, apps, and the CBeebies stuff they do for my son that he absolutely loves. It's brilliant. There's all these apps that do stories for all the kids shows. I buy into it literally and metaphorically. Yep, I'm a fan, and besides, they make Doctor Who, so they can do no wrong. Okay, maybe not no wrong.
Fuck. Sneeze there.
Okay. I wondered if I'd absolutely stunned you and you're about to absolutely blast. I mean, they invented Red Dwarf, Richard. The BBC invented Red Dwarf. They can't be all bad.
And Blackadder.
That and all, mate. What's
Red Dwarf. So you said you hadn't watched The Promised Land?
No, I have yet to see the TV movie that is Red Dwarf: The Promised Land. So go on. I remember that reminds me of back in season 1 of Red Dwarf. They did. They talked about. It might have even been the very first episode where they believe in cloister. I'm not. It might be later on in an episode called "Waiting for God."
It's either episode 2 or 3.
When they talk about he's Cloister the Stupid in their mythology, and he's going to return and lead them to Frushal, the Promised Land.
Yeah, he's gonna have
So
a
it's
sheep and a cow and breed horses.
right. Oh well, of course it was Fiji. No, it is episode 1 because he goes, "It's not Fushal, it's Fiji. Look out, Earth! The slime's coming home."
Yeah, but that's not where they go into detail about the cats. That's Waiting for God. That's like episode 2 or 3.
No, I think Waiting for God is episode 4.
All right then.
I believe I've got I think I've got certainly up to season 8. I've got like listed in my head, and I sometimes if I'm like if I'm struggling to get to sleep, I'll reel off. I'll choose a TV series or an album or something, and I'll just reel off the episodes in order to try and tire my brain out. Or a list
Can
of
I
videos.
just say that of the original series, the first series, Waiting for God, is probably one of my favourite episodes because of the side story with Rimmer and the garbage prod. I
Remember,
absolutely
remember and the what?
the garbage pod.
Oh yes, of course.
He thinks it's an alien spaceship, and Holly knows. And he's just,
Quakers, the Quaker warriors.
Quagars, 2 ways.
No, it's it doesn't Rimmer pronounce it Quakers.
Yeah, double A.
That's the
Callista.
one.
That's
And
the line. Quagars with 2 A's.
well, it's give me an R, give me an E, give me a D, give me a Red Wolf garbage pot. And he won't tell, and Holly won't
Holly's
tell
just
Rimmer.
like, it's a laugh, isn't it? I
Yeah.
preferred the male version of Holly to the female infinitely.
Oh, it was really good. So no, just to be sure, right, it's episode 4. The season 1 is The End, Future Echoes, Balance of Power, Waiting for God, Confidence and Paranoia, and Me Squared. That's in that order, I think.
They're all great episodes.
Yeah, it was a great show for 6 seasons. And then something just went off a cliff. Well, it was one of the 2 guys left, didn't he?
Yeah, you could really tell which one was the funny one.
The chemistry, as the chemistry went with the 2 the lead writers, I can't remember quite. There's a great documentary about Red Dwarf on YouTube.
Yeah, he just didn't want to do Red Dwarf anymore.
Right.
That's why Tim McInnery wasn't in Blackadder season 3, because he didn't want to be typecast as Lord Percy. And I'm like, well, what else are you going to do? I've never understood that with actors. Surely the whole point of being an actor is to be remembered for a role for the rest of your life.
I think people maybe they think not this role. I mean, Christopher Eccleston left Doctor Who after 1 season because he didn't want to be typecast. But then, to be fair, what's he done since? I mean, I haven't seen him in much.
I'm just trying to remember
that was ages ago now. Can you believe it? That was 2005. We've almost had 20 years of New Who. Bloody hell. That's a long time.
Christopher Eccleston. He's the one that looks like a chav, isn't he?
I'm not, or the only thing I knew him from before he did Doctor Who, because when it first came back in 2005, it was he was the Doctor, and he did it for 1 season before David Tennant stepped in, and he was, safe to say, one of the most well remembered and revered Doctors ever. I loved what he did with it. Even more remarkable was how Matt Smith managed to, despite being in the shadow of David Tennant, managed to craft a totally unique, presence as the Doctor. I think the 2 after that, Peter Capaldi and Jodie Whittaker, they've struggled a bit, in my opinion. No offense, no disrespect to them, but they hadn't quite managed to do what Matt Smith and David Tennant did. But I digress, inevitably. Yeah, Eccleston only did 1 season. And the only thing I've seen in it from him really before or since, there was some TV show called Up North or something like that, but I don't know that well. The only thing I knew was he was in the film Shallow Grave in the 90s. He was one of the 3 people that found the money and chopped up the body and hid it in the woods or something.
Fair enough. That's what I'd do. Not even gonna lie.
What if you found they found yeah, they'd had a guy move into their house, and they were trying to find they're trying to find different. There's a great everybody who's a potential tenant, they completely take the piss out of, and one of them is a guy called Cameron. It's Ewan McGregor, Christopher Eccleston, and I forget the woman's name. The actor who plays the third. So there's a woman, I can't remember who, but later at some posh dinner party, Ewan McGregor finds Cameron, and while he's really, really drunk, and Cameron kicks the shit out of him. It's just, there's something so funny. It just Ewan McGregor's voice goes, Cameron! Before getting a right good kicking. It's a pretty good film. I only saw it the once, but clearly it stayed with me. Shallow Grave. Have you seen it, Richard?
No, I have not.
Oh, you're not missing out on a huge amount, to be fair. I'll tell you what I did see. Mrs. and I went to see Oppenheimer. And that was...
Why? Is it any good?
I found it good without being great. I mean, there wasn't really anything that massively gripped me about the film. There wasn't, there wasn't anything that made me think, "Oh wow, yeah, this is absolutely amazing." It was a powerful story. It tells 3 different timelines at once, which and it keeps sort of chopping between them. But you can, by and large, you know what's going on. You know all 3 are progressing, and you know when they happened relative to each other. It's basically about the guy who invented the atomic bomb, his mixed feelings about it, and then his the subsequent witch hunt during the McCarthy years in America in the 1950s, and his being sort of persecuted during that. Sort of all these questions raised about possible communist sympathies and things like that. And basically, he was just like, he knew he started a whole new era of warfare taking place in the Cold War, happening right before his eyes. It was good. It was powerful. It's incredibly well shot and directed, and there's only one proper set piece in it, and that is when they do this test fire on this bomb, and it's absolutely brilliant the way they sort of show this explosion, and everybody's it's the first nuclear explosion. They test it where in the desert, and everybody watches through sort of dark lenses and binoculars from afar, that was a really powerful and moving scene. The way they covered the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki was, they didn't really show you it. They didn't go all Terminator 2 on you and show you a nuclear bomb hitting a city. You just had these visions. They show it through Oppenheimer imagining what it might be like, and you sort of see these sort of half images and these fleeting images of sort of searing flesh and things like that just hints at the trauma he's having, knowing that he's built the weapon that caused this. But so overall, it's good but not great, in my opinion. Oppenheimer.
I always feel bad about the kids and the pacifists in those cities.
Well, I think war is absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I
get that the Japanese were a bunch of dickheads. Unit 731, if anyone knows about that, is just proof that the Japanese were dickheads. But
no, you'd still have to go on, enlighten us.
You don't know about Unit 731?
Nope.
The Japanese in World War II used to capture Chinese civilians and test out all kinds of horrible shit on them. Like they used to line them up in several lines and toss a grenade into the middle to see how much damage a grenade would do. They'd expose them to all kinds of diseases, make them shag monkeys. It was a horrible thing. Some of the scientists were absorbed as part of Project Paperclip, which is really frightening. the data was kept. And it was not fun. But there were kids in those cities that didn't really have a say in anything. And
absolutely. So many people. I mean, sort of national leaders and politicians make these decisions, and it's crazy to think that there are real advocates of war out there.
Right, so there are people that will defend
among them right now
of Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and I'm just like, nah, nothing justifies that. It's not cool.
It's their reasoning behind it was it would have more lives would have been lost by that.
Yeah, no, I get the rationale.
The more lives would have been lost if they hadn't have done it. Trying to invade.
A lot of American lives would have been lost taking Japan because it's not an easy place to conquer, and the Japanese were going to fight to the bitter end. And I get that, and I get all of it. And I understand why the bombs were dropped. I don't understand why Hirohito didn't surrender after the first one detonated. Was he just like, oh, they wouldn't do that again?
And they did. They discuss it in the film, in Oppenheimer. It's
on a hilarious note. Do you know about the time America accidentally almost nuked itself?
Was it a test bomb gone wrong in some islands?
No.
Yeah, go on then.
It was a B-52 plane crash in the 1960s in North Carolina, where it was carrying 2 4-megaton nuclear bombs, and the plane broke up in midair and dropped its nuclear payload. Fortunately, the bombs didn't detonate.
My word. No, I didn't know about that.
They moved into, what was it? They covered it up. I mean, that was a real Men in Black job, that was. They covered that up. They're just like, yeah, don't worry. It's just a plane crash. Nothing to see here. Keep moving, guys. That doesn't look like a normal plane crash. Keep moving.
Oh dear, that's what they've. I mean, so the bombs didn't detonate because they weren't primed, or was it just a bit of good luck, or they weren't fired properly? They just were sort of crashed. All of the above.
No, they're just slammed into the ground. They've just, but they've got to be primed. I mean, you've got to switch them on before you drop them for them to detonate.
I mean,
no one's that stupid to design a nuclear bomb that you're just like, okay, it's completely primed now, so if any loud noises or anything, this thing will explode.
Yeah, thankfully they're not China teapots.
Nah, man, you gotta prime them. You gotta switch them on. You gotta let them warm up. They don't just detonate on impact. But yeah, it was a pretty hilarious tale that 2 nukes were dropped in North Carolina.
Did it cause a load of nuclear fallout?
No, because they didn't detonate. The uranium was in its housing.
Oh, so the housing was intact?
Yeah.
Because I wonder if it could split open without detonating or something like that. But I'm no expert on nuclear weapons.
Yeah, Rod Dupree knows what I'm talking about it. And they're designed to take an impact into concrete without detonating or releasing radioactivity. Yeah, see, like I said, you got to switch them on. But it's pretty cool that a nuclear bomb dropped in North Carolina, and hardly anybody knows about it. That's the weird part.
Well, I'm surprised you haven't done it as a weekly topic. Not that we're really doing those at the moment.
Well, it usually works best when we don't have a weekly. Me and Kevin work best when we don't have a topic and we just talk about whatever comes up.
Well, we've managed that for the past hour.
We did.
Oh, interesting. There was a little feel-good news story that I read earlier. Don't know much about it, but somehow a first edition of 2001: A Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke has been returned to a library 53 years late. Yeah. So that's
wow! What kind of fees? What kind of fines
Yeah.
were they facing?
Yeah. So it's someone had been clearing out a shop they'd taken over and found it in a bag along with 3 books, a sheet of music, which were also ours. So it was just it just seems to have been handed in. It was initially
anonymously.
yes, dropped off at the town's central library more than half a century later. The date the book last borrowed predates the opening of the town's central library by 5 years. Tim, yeah. So it's no one really knows about it, and they'd be interested to hear it. It was taken out on 11th of October 1969, and it was a popular title to borrow in Scunthorpe, judging by the number of stamps in the. I mean, I haven't been to a library for ages. Do they still stamp books the way they used to? No, it'd be all digital now, isn't it?
Yeah, I've not been to a library since I was a kid. They
They
all had a wonderful smell.
We took our kids when they were little.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I hope they don't disappear. But it feels like the kind of thing that you're going to need to really rely on younger generations to actively get involved with that they might not naturally be getting involved with. I mean, everything's going in the way of ebooks.
Sadly, although I don't mind Kindles. I actually like them. I do prefer a real book in my hand, but I don't mind.
Yeah, I do. I always like that. I must read Dune. That's my next book on my list. I finished Dave Mustaine, A Life in Metal, the Megadeth frontman's autobiography. I finished that a little while ago, and I must read Dune. I was bought it, and I've been told it's the best science fiction book ever written, kind of thing. It tops many people's all-time favorite lists and things like that. So I really must read it. It's Frank Herbert's Dune.
You haven't read Dune?
No.
Dude, you got to read Dune. It's awesome.
Oh, there you go. Another vote of confidence. So
you got to read all the Dune books, though. All of them.
Oh, Gordon Bennett, that'll take me ages. I'm crap at reading, man.
I once heard a book described as a really long Twitter post. And it was that as much as anything that made me give up on humanity.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's.
And on that nihilistic note, we'll wrap things up.
I think
Thanks for tuning in. We will return next week despite the hopes of many. And it's good night from me, and it's good night from Tom.
Night, everybody.